What?
You are the one for... honey.
Warning. The following podcast is another wasted hour. Warning. The following podcast is another wasted hour.
Don't waste my motherfucking time!
What movie is that from? That's from something. I know it's from a movie. It's just getting past me. I've got the memory and it's slipping away. It's slippery. It's a slippery memory that I can't quite hold on to.
It's the way you're feeling, man.
It is.
It's got groove. It's got meaning.
It does. No, still haven't seen it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another edition of Another Wasted Hour. That is to tell you that for the next hour, that productive time of your life is going to be stripped from you and taken and replaced with a completely unproductive hour. In fact, it'll just be replaced with two ignorant, uninformed, ill-advised, self-deprecating morons ranting about opinions they have no right to have, which are probably wrong and absolutely do not matter. Our goal is to convince you that where we hail from, just outside Washington, D.C., is not just a city of politics and scandals, but one brimming with art, music, and culture, as impossible as that may seem. So listeners, now that you know why you're here, I'm Keith, and across from me is my co-host Victor. Victor, why are you here this week?
Like tonight?
Yeah, this week tonight. This entire week compacted into one night.
Tonight?
It's a long night.
I'm going to have myself a real good time.
Tonight you're going to have... Oh, yeah?
I feel alive.
Why is that?
And the world, we'll turn it inside out.
Uh-huh.
But I'm floating around in ecstasy.
Okay, just stop and tell me why you're here.
Well, think of like a shooting star leaping through the sky.
Oh, God.
Like Lady Godiva.
Is there a sharp thing I can stab in my ear right now? Where do we have guns down here? Is there anything? Oh, I'm sorry. You stopped. Oh, okay. I was sorry. I was confused.
I'll make a supersonic man out of you.
I understand. I was just distracted trying to murder myself. So
calm down, Keith. Why are you here?
I'm here because of Mayweather McGregor. Did everybody see this?
I don't know who that is.
Is that it?
Mayweather McGregor?
Yeah, no.
Sounds like some
Never.
douche with really long arms who just plays defense the whole time and wins fights like that.
It would be better if he just did the one thing where he put his hand on his face and then put his arm through his arm and just punched like that.
Somehow he would still
right, like
win.
you did in elementary school, like this. This is a visual gag on radio just for everybody.
Still doing it. Yep.
Listen, look at that.
My
I'm
favorite part is that
literally
you're
doing it.
struggling to speak into the microphone.
I would pay to see 12 rounds of that. You know you would.
You give up and he just starts kicking him.
Yeah. I thought that I'm not a boxing fan. I'm not even an MMA fan. People fighting to me is a little like weird because I'm like, do you hate each other? And like, no, it's just we're doing it for sport. And I'm like, that's horrible. Oh my God. You're literally doing the thing that I'm trying to avoid have done to me my entire life.
Right. It's way better when roosters do it.
Right, exactly. Because then they have blades on their feet. We should put blades on boxers' feet. That's really the thing that's missing. But this was such a weird thing, right? Because now I think it's going to start a trend. Because what we've done is we took a boxer and we had him go up against an MMA fighter, right? And everyone was like, yeah, that's cool. That's fine. That's totally. And now it's going to, are we just going to do this all? Now it's going to be like a boxer versus a WWF guy, right? And like, well, sure. A boxer versus a guy who plays baseball. Like it's a boxer versus a banana. Like where is this gonna end? Because it doesn't seem like it's a good trend for sports if you like boxing.
This has been going on for a long time.
Yeah?
I remember many years ago, it was an more amateur fight.
Yeah.
But it was a kickboxer
Okay.
versus a wrestler. I must have been like 7. So
Oh,
this
really?
was like mid-90s.
I don't remember that.
And of course, the kickboxer got the wrestler to bleed, but then the wrestler got his arms around the guy and just pinned him, and that was the end of it. So it's like, okay, well, I'm exaggerating. He pinned him, tried to pin him, held him down, wrestled around with him, and then 12 rounds or whatever later, he finally got his shoulders down.
Right.
So it was just like two tired guys wrapped around each other struggling. And it was like, I don't want to watch this.
That sounds like prison.
Right. It's
That's
like,
what that
I'd
is.
rather watch a boxing match.
Yeah.
Even if it's one of those two boxers that love hugging it out all the time.
Now I'm making fun of this, but I'm pretty sure I saw like a really old picture from like the 1910s or 1920s where there was a boxer and a kangaroo. Have you ever seen this? So it's like a
Isn't
famous
that just
picture.
the Dunkaroos cover?
It might be a Dunkaroo. Maybe, you know what? Maybe
It was just Dunkaroos. Dude.
he was eating the kangaroo and he had dunked it in chocolate. Is that a fight? I don't know if that counts as boxing. Is that... It came out of a box. That's all I know.
Sounds like celebrity deathmatch. That's what this is turning. Now let's get it on.
Speaking of two guys that have been in a celebrity death match, I'd like to introduce you to our guests. They're representing the Fairfax County Brewfest that's happening Saturday, September 16th. Start off with Sean Hunt, the founder of Mustang Sally, and the host. Mustang Sally is the host of the festival. So hi, Sean.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We also have the co-chair for the festival, Mark Beeson.
Keith?
Did I say that right?
Hi.
What's up?
After all these
Close
years?
enough.
And so you guys are putting on a festival. Is that why you're here? Why are you here this week, guys?
I'm here because he invited me.
Here
You'll go
'cause-
anywhere anyone invites you to.
Well, so I assume you invited me because I brought beer with me. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
and I didn't even have to remind you.
that's true. But
No,
where's
that-
the beer that you brought?
Essentially, that's all it takes is an email that says like, hi, I'd like to be on your show. I have beer. And we're like, we don't know what
Yeah,
you
there
do.
it
Come
is.
on in.
Yeah,
Right.
Right. They could be like, I beat children. I'm like, talk about it.
Bring beer. Bring beer.
So what was this brainchild of putting together a brew fest? This is something that's going to show off Fairfax County breweries, local breweries, right?
Yep.
And combine that with some music from the area.
It's gonna be a big party.
Where did that come together? How did you come across that idea?
So it started off. So we did the first annual Brewfest last year.
Okay.
So this is actually the second annual
Ooh,
Brewfest because
that means it's serious.
No,
It's
so
getting
this is the
serious.
first
That's
annual
right.
Brewfest because it wasn't an annual last year.
That's a good point.
We called it an annual Brewfest last year,
You
so it's sort of
lied.
an existential kind of a conversation, I guess, right, Mark?
Yeah.
Yes. It's,
I don't know.
it's become a child now, so we can't just send it back to the hospital.
Yeah.
Right. It starts off at one.
So if
Can-
this
can
is
you
the
send
second
it
time
back
that we're
before
doing
it's a
it,
job?
and it is annual, then what would it be?
Perennial.
See how that
Good.
is? Oh,
It's a perennial fest.
Perennial.
Bi-weekly. I don't know.
But
You got me.
anyways,
You
it's,
got me.
You have to replant it every year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. There you go. No, that's an annual.
What's,
We're in the
oh,
digital-
that's
Which
an
kind of
annual.
circles us back to annual, doesn't it?
Yes,
Yeah, it's
it
interesting.
is.
We
And
literally don't know what any of this means, is what we've determined.
Yeah.
Get us a dictionary. We need a dictionary now.
We'll fix it in post. It's fine.
All right, so sorry.
So last year you came up with this idea of bringing together music and bringing together not only your own brewery, but
Right.
several other breweries as well, right?
All the breweries in Fairfax County.
That's pretty cool.
So it is pretty cool.
How
So-
many are there? Because I'm not aware of a lot of Fairfax County breweries.
Yeah, so 4 years ago there were 0, and then within
That
the
was a
last
terrible festival.
That's a bad,
the 4
bad
years.
time of year.
Just
that's
music.
Right. Yeah, it's kind
It's
of
a brew
boring.
fest. We were like, I'm really thirsty.
So something seems like it's missing.
Yes.
But anyways, so over the last 4 years, we have 6 breweries in Fairfax County, and a
Wow.
7th one is actually opening up. It could be this week, so they're having a soft opening this week.
See, I think this is a perfect example. We were talking about this earlier, that much like kind of arts and culture that are happening in DC, there's very little talk. You get a little bit of talk about kind of the wine culture in Virginia.
Right.
So Virginia wines have started to emerge over the last decade or so as being kind of a force in that culture. But breweries really haven't made it onto the map so much.
Yeah,
Like
that's
we've
right.
got a few ones in the area, obviously, of Dogfish Head up in like Delaware that had done pretty well. A few in this area that are starting to make a name, but there's actually quite a few options that people aren't aware of. It's actually a really burgeoning community right now.
I'm very surprised that there weren't any 4 years ago.
In Fairfax County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
So it's kind of, it's really, so you guys remember Old Dominion Brewing Company?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it started up in, I think, 1989.
Mhm.
Got bought back in 2005, I think, 2006.
And then everything went to hell.
And then it just disappeared.
Yeah.
That's right. So, there was a big void for a long period of time. And then Fairfax County is a tough proposition because, it's kind of a white collar jurisdiction, right? And
Property
breweries-
costs, things like that.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, ceiling heights. I mean, just the mundane.
Yeah.
So you need a place to put a brewery is the problem, and
Yeah.
and so it can be anything from the vast majority of breweries are really small,
Mhm.
so you can kind of fit them in anywhere, right? But for a bigger brewery, you need, really tall ceilings. You need loading docks, all the
That
mundane
makes
things that
sense.
you need to put all that steel in there and make beer. So
So I've never made a brewery, so that is all news to me. But let's talk about that a little bit more in the future.
Sure.
Speaking of news, let's get into what a little segment we like to call the weather report.
Get that stinger. So, Keith and I have scoured the depths of the internet to bring you what we think is potentially news. You guys get to decide whether or not it should have been there, whether or not we should have found it under the Google search. What the fuck to talk to people about this week.
Yep.
So, Keith, I believe you are opening it up.
This is absolutely news, just for the record. I just want to put that out there now, just so you know. You may know that there has been a very famous discussion about building a wall or a fence that's very important. That has started to spread around the world, is now a theme. In fact, in this particular story, we found out that it's made it all the way to Berlin, who I would say started this theme. And they're back at it. So you know that thing where like in busy cities where construction like messes up foot traffic and then people have to go the other side and like into the road and things. So it's like basically everywhere in New York City at all times. Anyhow, so if the question is how do you control an issue where there are people crowding the space of a building or like a walkway? And Berlin came up with an interesting choice. They decided to make fencing for a very specific bit of crowd. Apparently just outside one of the high schools in Berlin, there were hookers soliciting. Yeah. And so they had to put up a hooker fence. That is to keep out all of the traffic and the hookers. Apparently, according to the quotes, the prostitutes eat, stand, drink, and litter. It looks filthy in the late evening. That's what District Coordinator Michael Klinert told Berliner Zeitung, which I believe is a newspaper, but in German. And the also, quote, the women have no stations to wash themselves or to get themselves ready, and they relieve themselves whenever they please, which I'm guessing the high school guys are really happy about. So, yeah, so we know that the high school kids, especially of the male persuasion, probably didn't have a problem with this at all. And we're happy to take on tips and like, hey, just
Give them.
Yeah. But obviously the city wasn't very happy with it. They have made a prostitute fence. The question is it news?
Well, it's not Hamburg.
It's
Would be okay.
yeah, Hamburg.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything goes
Yeah.
in Hamburg.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a pretty ground up meat kind of place.
Yeah.
so we're doing these one by one here.
Yeah, you both get
Yeah.
a shot if you.
I
What
don't know.
would
I'm
you
kind of an anti-regulatory sort of a guy, so I'm not a big fan of like building a fence as a physical
No,
manifestation. Of
I don't
regulation,
think the
right?
Great Fence of China worked out that great.
And
They
I
had to
thought
replace it.
Berlin was about tearing down walls, not building walls.
They were at one
So-
point. I think
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
all
Just
news.
tore one down. Why they got to build a new one?
Yeah.
right.
Had a perfectly good one standing.
This does not sound like news.
No. Okay. So is it because you said you're not into the idea of building walls and fences? What if it had been like a horror mode? Would you have been okay with that?
Hormone.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of other ways to keep them away from the high
The
school.
bell rings
Can they
and
swing?
the
Right.
platform drops and all the kids leave and they raise it again.
Yeah, I'm just, like slut dragons, to keep people away. I don't know. What do you use if
So-
you don't have a fence?
I think you know what? Maybe the problem is I'm confused about the rules. Like, what's the definition of news?
You decide.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
that
get to
easy?
pick
Any
by
criteria
any
you want.
means that you want.
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson's dress is news.
That's
What she
different.
wore
True.
yesterday.
Well,
It's-
that's
anything is
different.
news now.
And
What if
anything
they-
about Scarlett Johansson is that's news, right?
What if they
That's
used
different.
boiling oil instead and they just poured that out of the keep of the high school at the hookers? Would that
Sounds kind of extreme.
They could. I mean, they could just get cowboys and corral them, away from the children's
right?
view.
A couple border collies would do that.
See,
That's true. That's true.
You could do like
Sheepdogs.
German
Yeah.
shepherds.
See, there's so many ways we could have done this that were maybe more elegant than a fence. You could even, if you have the fence there, you could do the Walking Dead thing and poke them with sticks through the fence.
Because I just imagine you build a fence and they're so desperate to get to the high schoolers. They're like up against it, ignoring you, just going, I'm running.
Brains.
Oh. All right. So not news. That's what I'm hearing.
I
All
feel
right.
bad. It doesn't feel like news.
Don't feel bad. Kick Keith right down into that gutter.
Don't listen to him.
So here
Well,
comes-
you guys clearly don't like hooker stories, so I'm not going to tell a hooker story.
we
My
don't- we
story
don't like
is
wall
about
stories.
the surprising problems of a high-class escort. As
That's a hooker. That's just a hooker with a different name.
she's a high-class escort.
It's a higher brand.
As clients don't ask for sex anymore, they want other things. The article goes into how actually these days she's pretty disappointed because she's not getting the sex that she used to. Now she's being used as a captive audience. There are writers using her to proofread their work. People running like scripts past her or help me practice for my presentation.
Yeah, monologue or something. Yeah.
Right. So she's like, this is the most, I don't know, bottom of the first world problem ever. I'm a
Yeah.
hooker that I'm not getting as
Not-
late as often as
I'm
I
not
used
getting
to.
taken advantage of quite enough.
Now, our very own engineer Adam loves to tell this story that he heard from one of his frat brothers, how the guy's wife got really mad when she checked the credit card statement. She's like, what is this $500 charge for an escort service? And he's like, oh yeah, okay, so there's this X-Men game and there are 4 characters.
Sure.
And when we all want to fight, but nobody wants to play as Dazzler because Dazzler fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So he hired a hooker. She played as Dazzler all night for us. Nobody wanted to play Dazzler. So $500 worth of X-Men gaming right there.
Yeah, that's a lot. For
I bet you she'd have just banged one of the guys and been happy. But
I would have
whatever.
played Dazzler for that money.
That's true.
Like, if you need right now, anyone who's listening, if you need me to proofread your script or just listen to your presentation, I'm available. I'm just saying.
Sounds like Keith will do anything for an hour. Right.
Yeah. I will climb that fence.
Or he'll sit there in your basement and waste an hour. I don't know, whatever.
And below you. Wait, is that not? Did that? That's the line.
What I meant. Moving on. So it's the struggles of the first world for real. But is it news?
I
Back
think
to the
she's just.
definition.
Pensive faces.
I think she's just expanding her resume.
See, here's the thing. I'd call that news because I actually learned something.
Oh, okay. So if it's a learning proposition.
I mean, we're going to start somewhere with having to define this thing.
There we go.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So there it is.
All right. So 1 news or 2 news? Both of you?
I vote news.
I'm going to hold my vote.
Okay.
do
So
that.
just
Hold
1.
out.
You're boldfully
Make-
abstaining.
Wait, make a decision. You can't do that.
You're being called out, Mark.
Come on, it's a 50-50. I mean,
I'm not going to sit here and wait for him to make a decision that's terrible
you
radio.
can't even be right or wrong. That's the thing.
No news. Not
Damn.
news.
Oh,
Not news.
all right. Well, since it's about learning things, I think I'm going to get news here. So, as you know, only you can prevent forest fires. That's a fact, right? It's a tough job, but that's something you have to do when you get home. And but starting them, well, just about anything can do that. In fact, take for instance the recent 40-acre brush fire in Montana, which may go down as the most awesome ignition in history. Let me tell you. So you have an eagle, and you have a hawk. And you have a snake. You know what? I don't know that I can do it justice. Let me just go to the quote from the story. And I quote, "After the hawk flew down to grab the snake, the reptile wiggled while in its clutches, and its tail hit a power line. A jolt of electricity shot through the 2 animals, killing them and triggering a spark that caused the fire." What? 40 acres burned due to the ignition by hawk snake.
That's amazing.
Premature ignition.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Before this news story,
Inadvertent ignition.
if I said name 1 way to start a fire with a hawk and a snake,
Wouldn't have come up with
yeah,
that.
you wouldn't have been able to do it. I could have given you a snake and a hawk, and you would have frozen to death in the tundra. But
Right.
now you know, if you just throw them on some power lines, you can burn 40 acres of Montana.
It's amazing.
A Boy Scout would know that, though.
That's true. Be prepared. Oh, we can't start a fire. Hold on. I have a hawk. I have a snake. We can do stuff with this. So we know that a hawk and a snake now should be in your survival gear if you ever go hiking. But the question is it news?
I learned something. I vote news.
Look at you.
I like it.
Educating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's
No.
consistent. I like that.
No, not news.
He's
Not
always
news.
consistent.
You'd have to have someone actually witness it to know what happened. I mean, if they're going to burn up in that fire, there's no remains. They don't know how it started.
Right. Well, this is probably somebody said, here, hawk, hawk, hawk. Because you want to see that. Like, I wonder if I could.
Somebody fell asleep with their cigarette in their mouth and was trying to cover it up. There was a snake and the hawk came and ate it and fire.
So there's an element of this, right? I mean, where he probably didn't have that as a learning moment before this thing started, and then he improvised and he made it a learning moment because we defined news as a learning moment.
Don't give him the
Either-
news. Don't rescind your
Right?
vote. He's manipulating you.
Yeah, well, either that
I
or
do. I feel so used right now, but I'm going to still vote news.
You know,
that
you
or
can
a
get
beef-
paid $500 for that an hour, feeling used.
I won't do anything for just an hour.
All right, so fair enough. I've got a one. I've tied it up. It's good.
I got one. In light of the major natural disaster that's happening in Texas right now, I don't know if you guys have seen images of the flooding. The flooding's up to basically the bottom of those big green highway signs in some places. So this news article reads, Alligator Sanctuary on alert as floodwaters threaten to unleash hundreds of gators. Dun, 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 dun. And then it goes on. It's a very long article with lots of pictures of gators hanging out in random places in Texas.
Yeah. That was the most horrifying thing I've ever heard, is that somebody said, oh, it's terrible what's happened in Houston. Like, the water is up to,
Gators!
traffic lights. And someone's like, and they have gators. And I was like, what the hell? Oh, my God. Like, you're in a canoe trying to, get your puppy to, safety, and then gator. That's a whole nother level of messed up.
Don't worry. They put Big Al and Big Red in cages.
Oh, good. Oh, thank God.
We're
Well,
good.
as long as
But
they're
my
fine.
question is, if all these pictures, there's literally dozens of pictures of gators just hanging out, and they're not in the sanctuary. They're gators in the streets, swimming
Yeah.
around. Why the fuck does it matter if hundreds of gators get loose if there are already thousands of them everywhere?
It's density. That's what they're concerned about.
Right. So
Yeah.
I bring this up as more a criticism than you might be in danger if you're already fucked.
For the record, we were introduced just a few years ago to Sharknado. Now we have Gator Cane, and
Right.
I'm just saying it's horrifying. They're everywhere.
Gator cane.
Yeah. So it is obviously a brand new franchise that could make a lot of no money.
Let's call it a new type of natural disaster.
Right. But is it news? You don't have to wait till the end of the article to start thinking about it.
I think that is news because it's very reminiscent of the fire ant issue they're having down there.
Yeah! Wait,
nice.
what?
Wait.
Oh yeah, if you're paddling along to safety,
Yeah.
and you see this giant big ball of fire ants,
yeah, they float when
don't
they get
touch
together.
it with your oar because they'll get on the oar and come into your boat.
What?
Yes,
I'm sorry.
That's how they survive.
That's really funny.
They come together as a huge ball, and then they just float around until they hit land.
Can we make them hit a power line? 'Cause
That'll dry up the hurricane flooding real quick.
Just saying. Dear God. So you have got
That is a really specific problem.
Yes, it is.
so a gator can float up on your boat with a ball of ants on the back of it. And essentially you just go, kill me now because I'm in hell.
This is the end.
yeah.
Exactly.
That's kind of funny because I was thinking the other way around. You always see these pictures of Africa and you see these hippos coming out and you
Oh,
eating
yeah.
an entire boat.
Yeah.
But you went really small and went with the fire ant. I went really big with the hippo.
If that got out of the
So-
zoo, I don't think they have
The
natural
hippo?
hippos in Houston. So I think we're safe on that side.
So
But
what's the
bet you they
most
have a shit
deadly
ton of
animal
fire
in
ants.
Africa?
yeah. But if you
Hawks
bring
and
it,
snakes.
It's
Yeah.
it's the hippo.
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But if you bring the hippos here to the United States, they're quite nice actually.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it's just in Africa that they're dangerous.
Yeah.
Right. Here
Yeah.
it's hawks and snakes. You have to watch out for.
They get off the plane here in the United States and they go, "Do you have any tea?"
It's more
Oh.
chill.
My goodness. That was really nice. So I didn't catch it. Did we get?
I got a
A
news
news?
from Mark.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if you want the short story or the long story. I was against it because you were going for natural disaster, but then you went to the kind of the funny gator story. But then you brought in this sort of public safety aspect of it. So then I was kind of 50-50.
Oh my God, this is so boring.
I don't know, man. He's got me on the fence here.
It's a lawyer.
Yeah, right.
I said you were the competitive one, but I really
cut to
want
the
to know.
chase. It's not news.
Damn it! All that just
All
to
of
drown
that.
at the
I
shore.
was 50-50, and then you started making fun of me, and I went no news.
All right. I'm glad that worked. All right. Last but not least, for me at least, I think that this one's pretty interesting. So a 55-year-old priest from Mahwah, New Jersey was arrested after being investigated for a month. This week, he was sentenced to prison pursuant of his conviction for downloading child pornography. That's not news. Priests looking at child pornography is basically what we like to call priests. And so the gentleman pled guilty to one count of disseminating images of children involved in sexual acts. The other 39 counts were dismissed. I don't even know how you do that. But here's the interesting thing. So his defense, though, and I quote, Gugliata, who told probation officers he is a poker player, felt that God was attacking him when he lost games and tournaments. And by downloading the pornography, Gugliata told officers he felt he was getting revenge on God.
That's how that works, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's his defense, is he was thumbing his nose to God.
No, you're going to release not guilty. Clack, clack.
So I just want to point
I'm
out,
glad it wasn't really a child pornographer.
because public service announcements are really important. Seriously, if you think you have a gambling problem, please call the gambling addiction hotline. It's 1-800-522-4700 instead of wanking to babies despite the Lord. So
Despite the
Yeah.
Lord.
I hope you like this, Jesus.
Look what you're making me
You're
do.
making me do this. If you don't let me win a poker, it's just sin after sin. Like it's so weird that this guy has this in his head. So we know that it's probably not going to be a viable defense in the future. But is it news?
Yeah, it's just the gross aspect of that story. I'm going to say no news.
Rejected.
Oh,
I'm gonna have to go with news on that one.
yeah.
Just
oh,
'cause,
all right.
You know, being a Catholic,
Yeah.
3 priests from my church, 3 in a row,
Touched
were
you.
investigated, convicted, and put in
I
jail.
was gonna say, did all three walk
What?
into the same bar? You think one of them would have seen it?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's navigating Catholic childhood can be scary.
Rough.
Well, I think we have to end this in a tie, which is how we like to end them all the time, so we don't actually get to taunt each other too much.
That's all right.
So thank you, gentlemen, for helping us determine what is and is not news. We have several things we did not get to. If you'd like to hear more about, let's say, a South Carolina principal apologizing for telling students they look fat in leggings, or a U.S. man who said he was stabbed for looking like a neo-Nazi, who actually ended up, we find out, stabbed himself, or a woman who found a tiny live frog in her packaged salad, and it's now a family pet.
Also, if you want to know my absolute correct answer to why all of our world religions have been at war forever, I figured it out.
Good.
It's due to a translation problem.
Oh, excellent. So head up to our Facebook page and we'll post those things up through the next week or so. And you can find out more about the things that did not make it on this week, or on the weather report this week. So back to the news that we are making indefinitely, we would all vote as news.
Don't you just love Keith's transitions?
Yeah.
Isn't that a segue, right?
Yeah. The stuttering and the nervousness and the awkwardness.
You guys can't see it, but the sweat.
Yeah, lots of sweat.
You guys can't smell it either, but-
Oh my goodness, that's not even beer. So, so we have the Brewfest. This is the second annual Brewfest. How did the first annual Brewfest go? Hopefully well if you're doing a second one.
Yeah, I was going to say well enough to do a second one. So
Right.
yeah, so yeah, I mean it was great. You know, it's an indoor-outdoor fest. It takes some of the variables out of it. You know, so weather a lot of times is a tough thing for a fest, and we try to take that out of it.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then a lot of this is the brewing community is a cool community. I mean, it's very collaborative. It's fun. Everybody really just doesn't take themselves too seriously. So the whole idea of this Brewfest is just get together, have a party, celebrate breweries in Fairfax County. It's not too hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's a ton of fun, and the second year ought to be better than the first, and the third ought to be better than the second.
You would hope so, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So you have 6 breweries from Fairfax County.
Yeah.
That's pretty easy to select. You just go around Fairfax County and you're like, do you have beer? And then they go, yeah. And then you're like, come on, right? But there's also
I emailed them. But
yeah. Well, if you want to be like all technological,
Yeah, right.
just you didn't go around like a town crier. But you also have music. So Mark, as a co-chair, you I
Yes.
assume helped with the music side of things. How did you find these artists and select them for your Brewfest?
I helped myself. One of the benefits of being the co-chair is you can book your own band. So I
sneaky.
did. So I actually
Fraternization with yourself.
Yeah, but if you
But
show
the
up
good
late,
part
you
is
have to
you're
fire
good.
yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, last year we had the Fredericksburg All-Stars, who are a fantastic band.
Mm-hmm.
And a good friend of mine, Paul Fields, is their bass player. And their singer couldn't make it, so they had Paul had his friend Patrick, who is a singer for the Blues Buckets, come sing.
Oh, okay.
And I was absolutely blown away by these guys. So the Fredericksburg All-Stars disbanded, and Paul joined the Blues Buckets. So I'm just like, have to book those guys.
So those guys are in this year?
Those guys are in this year.
Very cool. Who
And
else?
The second band is my band. It's Scott Kurt and Memphis 59.
Okay, very cool.
So we'll be bringing the modern country.
Yeah, I've seen those
And
guys play. Fantastic.
The Blues Buckets will be bringing the
Buckets.
blues rock
Oh.
and blues. And Patrick has like the best voice. I mean, it's like Greg Allman
Oh.
meets just, I don't know, just sounds like Greg Allman to me. Just
A banana.
fantastic voice.
Greg
Yeah.
Allman meets a
Yeah.
live panther.
It's actually a pretty cool quote from that. So
Right.
it's young guys with an old soul. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Greg Allman mixed with an alligator with fire ants on its back.
yes, exactly.
Electrocuted.
Don't
and
touch
burned
him.
by
And the hippo
Hawkins.
came by and
Yeah.
ate them all, right?
Don't touch him with an oar.
Yeah, don't. It's a really bad idea.
That's just bad policy for musicians in general.
So overall,
Love
should
your
be
music. Whack.
should be a fun lineup. It starts at noon. It goes till 6 p.m.
Yes.
Again, that's Saturday, September 16th. It's the Fairfax County Brewfest. If anyone wants more information or are there tickets that people can buy, where would they go to get that?
Yeah, so just go to Mustang Sally's website. It's www.msbrewing.com.
Okay.
The whole idea with the ticketing is we wanted to make it more approachable. So, this is traditional fest, right? It's community coming together.
Nice.
So a lot of these fests kind of just kept multiplying over the years, and then they just got more and more expensive.
yeah.
The whole idea with this one is it's $10. Everybody gets inside. You do what you want to do.
Nice. Okay. So real affordable, great music, and then obviously being able to check out all the different breweries from around Fairfax County.
At a working brewery. So the cool thing is all the different
okay.
breweries are going to be touring our brewery. So it's kind of cool, So we're going to have brew tours all through the day, but it's not going to be us that's giving a tour of our own brewery.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have any special brews that are coming out for this particular event?
So we always have something else coming out.
Sure.
So we didn't brew anything for this event necessarily, but we're coming into the colder months. And,
Yeah.
and it's kind of funny. We start thinking about cold weather beer back in June and July, right? It's kind of a strange thing, but
Well,
Yeah.
like 6
so
months
we
to
just
brew
started
type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you start thinking about it, you finally get it to a point where you work it up, and then you finally get it to the big system, and you get it brewed, and by the time you've done all that thinking, you're already late to get a beer out. So So we just came out with a kind of a red ale. It's a little heartier beer, and kind of medium kind of a beer. But we're coming out with this coffee vanilla porter.
Okay.
So you can drink it. You don't have to go down. At the same time, you can come right back up. So it kind of keeps this perfect
Yeah.
balance as you're drinking.
Mark says that the red ale is pretty fantastic.
The red ale is, well, every time we have meetings for the Brewfest, I always suggest we have them at Sean's because when we have them at the Chamber of Commerce, they don't give us beer.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a good point.
So we always
the
have
The
idea-
red ale is pretty spanking good, but the coffee vanilla porter,
Yeah.
The idea
That
being
is
that like
thing
the
of beauty.
heavier the beer,
Oh, yeah.
the better for cold weather, right? You
Thing
want
of
like,
beauty.
lighter,
Is it?
crispier stuff
I
for
think it's
summer.
better for your blood.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what the science is.
Beer's just good for your blood, period.
Yeah,
Do you think it's
that's
a
right.
brew that'll go down in history?
I think could be very competitive.
Well, you're in luck because we are
Here's
going to
the
move
next
over to things that it would have to compete with
Okay.
this week in history.
All right.
Keith and his transitions. So these things that we are about to throw your way happened on and about this date throughout history, and at the end, each of you gets to decide what is the most relevant occurrence to you.
Whatever criteria you wish. So let's
Learning
get-
or world, or what was it? Natural disasters.
Yeah, whatever.
whatever it be.
All right.
So,
kick it
opening.
off.
In 1533, the last of the Incan emperors was strangled to death by Francisco Pizarro. He was,
Ooh.
his name was Atahualpa. Pizarro
again.
showed up.
Say it again.
Atahualpa.
Ooh, that's so good.
You get tingles, right?
Mm,
You
yeah,
get
you do.
tingles.
Yeah.
So Atahualpa was captured after he was offered a Bible.
Mhm.
Like upon their meeting, not knowing that there was like artillery and troops surrounding the area,
Sure.
cavalry and all sorts of things they've never seen before, and he was like, "Convert to Christianity." And he was like, "I don't know how to read the stupid book," and he throws it on the ground. They kill everyone. They capture him,
Oh no.
and he is offered the choice: you can either burn at the stake, or we can strangle you to death if you first convert to Christianity. And he was like, "I can offer you a room the size of pretty much the one we're in, full of gold." And Pizarro was like, "Yeah, that sounds good.
Right.
That's a good alternative."
Yeah, that's basically
So,
Jesus.
Let's see. He offered to fill a room full of treasure as ransom for his release. Pizarro accepted. Eventually, some 24 tons of gold and silver were brought to the Spanish from throughout the Incan Empire. Although Atahualpa had provided the richest ransom in the history of the world, he was still strangled at the stake. So the heathen gods placed upon the gold a terrible curse. Any mortal that removes but a piece from the stone chest shall be punished for all eternity. Or the Incans would shortly after be conquered and destroyed.
that
Anyway,
also could happen.
moving on to happier things.
Yes. So happy birthday.
Thank you.
We start in 1743. This will continue my long-standing trend of mispronouncing people's names. Antoine Laurent de Lavoisier, which is probably
Like when you
not
curse in other languages.
probably not that's how you say it. But he's a French chemist, founder of modern chemistry. He identified air as containing two principal elements in 1778. So we made a country, and he was like, "Oh yeah, air." And
Fire.
Yeah.
Fire.
one of which was named oxygen. He established the law of conservation of matter in 1782 and showed that respiration was essentially a slow combustion of organic material using inhaled oxygen. Interesting. He was guillotined by the Revolutionary Tribunal for his association with the Farmers General. So that's an unfortunate way to get
Is that
rid
like
of
the
it.
farmer's daughter, but the farmer's general?
It's like the Farmer's Almanac, but sharper.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. So so that happened 1743.
Yay!
Moving from there.
oxygen And fire.
Yeah,
Sounds like a smart guy, but can create a fire with a hawk and a snake.
that's true. That took hundreds of years later. Is when we determined that. He didn't even think it was possible.
We didn't discover the element of fire, hawk, snake brush until this year, actually.
Yeah, yeah. It was really a real milestone for the science community. 1857, Abraham Lincoln Almanac trial. James Preston Mexer is murdered. I think it's Metzker.
Doesn't matter. He did.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Future U.S. President Abraham Lincoln would defend the accused William Duff Armstrong. A witness claimed to have seen the murder by the light of the moon. Lincoln got Armstrong acquitted by using an almanac to show that there was insufficient moonlight on the night of the murder, thus proving the witness was lying.
Dun, dun, dun.
Your Honor.
He could have just Googled it, but he had to use a book
Yeah.
to make his point.
Like I like he went just all Matlock, like, and here it says there was no full moon. Acquit. Like, all right, damn.
It's Perry Mason.
All right,
Just-
I demand you acquit that you see my the defendant as innocent and make me president of the United States of America.
Oh, well, he's
Done.
He's got the book.
All right, I also have 1906. Happy birthday!
Thank
you. Ed Gein. Anyone?
No, but
Very
I
good.
hope he didn't die.
No.
Everybody else has died.
He did die in 1984.
Well, I mean, if he was born in 1906, he's probably dead.
That's
Yeah.
probably
Well,
true.
you never know.
Or a world record holding
Yeah.
old.
Have
version.
you guys seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yup.
Yes.
So the character of Leatherface in that 1974 film was based partly on Ed Gein, who is an American murderer. He confessed to killing 2 women and robbing graves for which he made trophies and keepsakes from the body parts. Other famous movie killers were also loosely based on his crimes, such as Norman Bates from Psycho and Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. I believe he also made a lamp shade out of human skin.
Probably doesn't light up that well.
It didn't sell on Etsy though. Nothing does.
I'd have bought it.
Yeah, it's really a shame.
So, 1987 hit soundtrack. Anybody? Anybody?
Grease.
No, not Grease.
That's the only one I know. It's the only one I know.
All right, fine. Moving on. Do your thing. Whatever.
At least nobody died.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. History's depressing. I used to like history.
That album brought about the largest mass of mumbling ever seen in the United States.
Yeah,
'Cause
followed by the Macarena.
Because a bunch of white people just were like, ba la la bamba. Gracias. Ba la 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 bamba. Nothing. They knew none of the words except for that one
But they
line.
fucking loved it.
Yeah, they did.
That hit #1 in 87.
But now they had 2 songs to sing, Louie Louie and La Bamba.
That's right.
Oh, baby.
Right. It was just,
Yeah.
right. That's just them at the International Society of People who have mouthfuls of marbles. And all right, 19. What do I have? 19.
Oh, it's 1992.
1992. Oh, that's very strange. I have 2 1992s. What am I doing?
Did I miss one?
Oh, here it is. A St. Louis man recovers his 1962 Corvette, which was stolen in 1971. Think about that for a second. How much does that suck that you buy your Corvette, you get it for 9 years, somebody steals it, right? And then 30 years later, they're like, oh yeah, we found it. It's over here. You know that guy who stole it dogged it, right? The transmission is screwed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But so the car,
We
which
found most of it.
the good news is that the car, which he paid $1,300 for in 1969, was now worth $25,000.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So nice little. You just put that nest egg over there in somebody else's house,
Right.
in their garage, and forget about it for 30 years. Yeah.
Is he sure it just wasn't sitting in a tow lot for 30 years?
Right. And it actually, to get it out, it was $25,000.
Those overnight fees are ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So a friend of mine had this piece of crap Jeep. Bright, it was red, but it faded, so it was pinkish. It had this big burn mark on the hood from when the engine caught fire. The driver's seat no longer reclined. He had to hold it up. He used a broomstick and some duct tape. It was a piece of shit. But the time came he had to part with Matilda.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And it broke his heart. He fixed her up as best he could. Painted over that spot, made sure the engine doesn't catch fire anymore. There was this custom piece that he painted and bought and put in the center console, but it ended up getting covered up anyway, but it was yellow. So he had to cover it up with some other custom pieces that he bought, and he sold it. And 4 years later, he's like, man, I miss my Jeep. So he goggles Craigslist Jeeps, and he's like, if only I could afford that. Wait, that center console box is open and there's some yellow part in there. That's Matilda.
Wow.
He bought it. It was I don't know, 5 or 6 years later, he found his Jeep on Craigslist and had a better job and was
Right.
not in a shitty high school car anymore. He bought Matilda, so it's like a dream come true. He gets his car back.
That guy was like, oh yeah, I'm selling it for $6,000. He's like, looks like there's been some fire damage here. What? No, there's never been a fire. I'd rather there's
I
been a
don't know.
fire.
Check the Carfax.
I
man.
got a real good feeling about that. I want to know when your car catches fire, what type of person it takes to go, put it out. We'll figure it out. Yeah.
Good.
Because if my car is on fire, I'm going, time to go shopping.
Right. You guys want to throw rocks at it?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, moving on in history. In 2005, on this date, Katrina fucked the entire Gulf Coast.
Flush.
And sank all of New Orleans, which remarkably has a phenomenal levee system. It's just once it breaks, it's really hard to get water out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, that train seems to be on time this year.
Yeah, that's not going so well for Houston right now.
At least at this time, they were like, get out! Okay.
Everyone out. Everyone out.
Get those gators out of there.
You know that you're in a flood zone because I keep hearing people about there like, oh yeah, I had to leave my house. We had 3 feet of water, and I was evacuating in my kayak, and I was like, you have a kayak. You knew this was happening.
Right.
I don't have a kayak. If it floods here, I'm screwed because I'm like, there's no way they're that much. No, they have boats. They're going around like, hey, if anyone has a boat, could you help us? And they're like, oh, yeah, we got boats. Like, of course you do. You live in a place that has this much water.
Of course, now look at this basement. Like, all right, hold on. We need room for my 38 guitars and all this expensive, like, electronics equipment.
Yeah.
The computer, the monitor, the speakers, and you got room for a ukulele? No?
No.
All right, you can jump overboard.
Push them out. All right, last but not least, I believe, is me in
Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, 2006.
My favorites.
Rush Limbaugh, the guy who does a very similar show to us, but shittier, on his nationally syndicated program, because it gets paid a lot more, but he uses it all on food. The once 325-pound talk show host blames the obesity epidemic on the liberal left.
Like you do.
Yeah. Stating, well, they didn't teach him how to butcher a slaughter a cow to get butter. We gave him butter. So, Rush, that's not how you get butter.
No.
I don't know. I'm concerned that the right may have missed it. Like, I want butter. I'm killing everything.
They'd be more like, I want butter. I'm killing everything. Where are you guys going?
Yeah.
I'll get you in a second.
Does he know his food groups?
Maybe. I don't know. So, Rush, just a quick update on how food works. Just because butter is coursing through your veins doesn't mean it's also coursing through the veins of cows. So, yeah, that's...
You don't know that. You weren't there.
That's like the most like U-turn point at somebody ever. Like pointing at somebody like, it's your fault, and then just like right back at you. Like, they didn't teach them how to slaughter cows and make butter out of them.
Sure didn't.
Delicious blood butter? What are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, when you say it that way, it does sound like they're ignorant.
Blood butter sounds pretty good, actually. I could go for some blood butter.
That's what we need. You know what? If you're thinking about a new brew, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
blood butter.
Inspiration comes from different places.
Yeah.
That's for sure,
Could also be a good song title.
That's true.
Butter cows.
Blood butter.
Oh, that's good.
Cows.
Right. I love butter on the inside.
Almost as much as I like it on the outside.
All right, so that is all we have for this week in history. Gentlemen, it has now come to the time for you to each decide what you feel is the most important or impactful historical thing that has happened according to any reasons that you'd like to use.
Educational
Okay.
or
Yeah, Mark, go.
disastrous.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Since we were talking about flaming engines,
Yes.
and I don't mean the gay kind,
Mm-hmm.
but in 2016, my wife and I lost 2 cars to flaming engines. Thanks.
Did they just like run by and torch your cars and keep going?
Did one pick
No.
the other one up and then they hit power lines?
Squirrels.
What?
Squirrels.
They making nests in there or something?
Squirrels like RAV4s. We had 2 RAV4s, now we have a Subaru. But squirrels build nests. You drive the car, it heats the leaves, it lights the car on fire, and then your neighbors come next door and take videos of it while it's burning in your driveway.
Nice.
Yes, and they had a tow truck.
This is
Sat there on the curb while our car's in flames. I went through like 3 fire extinguishers. I'm going to every house going, can I borrow your fire extinguisher?
Yeah.
No,
Mark,
fire
just
truck
so you
comes.
know, a tow truck wouldn't have helped in that particular
That's
situation.
true. But he
You
could
would
have
have
Go
just
fast enough.
moved the flaming car to another place where it would have continued to burn.
further from our house, of course, though. Further from our house.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
Uh,
and
wow.
then 10 months later, my RAV4 burned up in a 7-Eleven parking lot on the way down to Barco Rebar.
Didn't even get you to the bar.
Nope.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'd be
that's
so
very sad.
mad.
No.
So you've gone off script, not something we gave you, but something that was particularly impactful for you. How about you, Sean? What do you pick something from the list, or do you have your own addition?
Well, it's funny. I mean, we were talking about the list before we even started with this thing. You
Yeah.
said 62 Corvette, and I said, yeah.
Yeah.
So you had me at that.
All right,
I mean,
there
I
we
never
go.
even had to go beyond that.
A good old Stingray. I
We're
like
not
it.
showing the guests the lists anymore.
No,
Yeah.
Mark didn't care.
This is stupid.
I can't read from here.
All right, excellent.
He
So
just
we've
focus on burning squirrels. It doesn't matter.
We have determined that if a squirrel were to make a nest in a 62 Camaro, that would be the most impactful thing that could have happened to both of you.
Corvette.
Oh, Corvette.
Get it
Sorry.
straight.
Yes, Corvette. I apologize. That was really offensive. And
Ignoramus.
so moving on, we'd like to get to know a little bit more about you besides the fact that you like to catch cars on fire and love vintage cars. So we'll go into a little segment we call Near and Far.
Near. Go far again. Far. See, that's what it's all about.
Pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Makes
So-
perfect sense.
So let's start off with a near story. One of you guys want to jump on a story that happened close to home, perhaps? Or
Does it have to be in the past, or it can be in the very near future?
you know what? I'll go for the near future.
Well,
There's no
latitude.
rules here.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So we're going to be brewing a double brew tomorrow.
Oh.
So it's almost my favorite day in the brewery. So you get there early.
Okay.
So our brewmaster, Kenny Allen, he gets a crazy early start. He starts brew day usually at about 4:00 in the morning.
Wow.
So by the time I'm walking in, it smells like a bakery, and it's really wonderful. So it's a nice way
Yeah.
to start the day. So anyways, tomorrow's double brew day.
So does that mean you're doing two separate brews, or does a double brew mean something to
So yeah,
that
so
we don't understand?
Yep. So you've got a certain size brew house.
Okay.
It makes a certain amount. So ours makes 1,000 gallons at a time.
Yeah.
And then you brew into a fermenter so that it ferments in there
Oh, okay.
for 2 to 5 weeks. Usually your fermenter is a multiple larger than your brew house. So if the brew house is a
okay.
30 barrel brew house, then we have 60 barrel fermenters.
Okay.
And as long as you get brews into there before about a 24-hour period,
Okay.
you can put as many in there in that 24-hour period as you can. So,
Oh,
so what you do
interesting.
is you brew really fast and you get them all in there at the same time.
So you're
So
trying
you can ferment more beer.
you're trying to top off the fermenter, essentially.
max it out.
Yeah. All
right.
right. Oh, very cool. So I've learned something. If I ever want to brew beer, I forgot all that already. So,
So is that
Luckily-
news or is that not news?
Somebody press record.
yes, it's educational. That's news. Yeah. How about you, Mark? Do you have something close to home you can share with us?
Yeah, the band's working on a new single.
Oh,
We had a single out last year called American Man.
Yeah.
We're an American man.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
And we had some chart success on iTunes with it.
Really?
But
That's
we've got
great.
a new
That's
tune coming out. It'll be out this fall. We're actually shooting a video for it in 2 weeks.
Nice.
And
Could you tell us how to have chart success on iTunes? We don't know how.
Here's
have lots
how.
of friends.
Once
Yeah.
once that's ready to go, come on back and we'll highlight the band.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
iTunes doesn't care who buys the songs, so one person can buy it 1,000
It's
times.
just you 1,000
Exactly.
times. I love this song. This is so good. It's me again.
Wow. Somebody listened to the song 3,087,000 times. Be like, that guy's got a lot of laptops.
We were hoping to create like a playlist at one point for Spotify where it would just be like all of our songs and you just put it on in the background. Like you don't even have the volume up, just like make us money. Right? Like overnight, put
There
this
you
on your
go.
laptop and just run it. And then it'll just be on repeat and we'll make slivers of a penny every time they get played.
Perfect.
Yeah. So that's very cool. Yeah, definitely let us know
All right.
when it actually is coming out. We'll have you we do a world premiere here on the show.
Wow.
Okay.
We've done a few of them. We're
All
really quite in right now. We're big deal. I don't know
We're
if you knew that.
super hip.
We
Yeah.
would dig that. We would
Yeah.
dig that.
So awesome. So well, cool. We'll keep an eye out for that. How about we move too far? One of you guys have
Far.
Everything seems so small now that we're talking about a world premiere.
I know. Beer's pretty nice.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take that.
You could have
I'm
a
gonna
world
run with that one. Yeah.
Maybe we have to have you on to do a world premiere of beer.
I like that.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, it is double brew day tomorrow. So
There it is.
maybe like 6 months.
yeah.
Victor's gonna go swimming.
Oh, yeah. That'd be such an awesome way to die.
First,
Drown in beer.
first to taste it, Sean.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that. I
There
like
we
that
go.
a lot.
So
We
that
could arrange that, by the way.
All right.
So far.
We'll do the live show at your brewery,
Yeah.
drinking brand new beers.
So
He's like, no. Skipped over that, like, no, that's not a
gonna
good
digest
idea.
that one.
Yeah, you go to hell.
Yeah. So I've got 3. This is gonna be boring, but I'm gonna like give a shout out
That's
to 2
not
of
a
my kids.
good way
okay?
to start a story.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
just so you
I'm sorry.
know.
I know.
This
Yeah.
is going to be horrible, guys. Just brace for it.
Tune
This-
out for 60
It's like a
seconds here.
proctology exam.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Can only go uphill from
Brace
here.
it.
I said boring, not painful. So
know,
I've
I
got
just
3
got a
kids. 2 of my kids go to Virginia Tech. We just dropped them off.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. So Christian and Katie.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's all you have for me? It's just
I'm sorry.
you
I
dropped-
told you.
at
You just said it
UVA.
was going to be super boring. I didn't want to take up a whole lot of time here. Right?
When did you drop them off?
Thursday and Friday.
Oh, okay. So they just missed the Nazis.
So you
yeah.
dropped the kids off at the pool?
No, at the UVA.
The school. Sorry.
the school,
My
yes.
bad. I confused my euphemisms.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, thank God you missed the Nazis, because God forbid they'd been like, it seems like a good idea, and joined on to that, and then you'd be like, you're supposed to finish school first and then become racist.
Be educated racist.
Right. At least get an education.
right.
I was actually in Charlottesville when it all happened.
That was all right?
Yeah,
That's
it was
scary.
pretty intense.
Yeah.
We were there for the
Rally?
father-in-laws.
Ugh.
Yeah, we were there. There was a party. We heard, and so we went. It was really weird. A lot of guys looked like me,
Yeah,
and
it's kind of weird.
and some people really angry because they weren't invited. And I don't know what it was about, but
He's
they
the
had-
one who convinced that one guy to stab himself. so-
right, yeah, it was really great. They had a cool centerpiece of a guy on a horse. But
You're too drunk to drive, I hope.
no, we were there for a birthday, and so we missed the kind of the I wouldn't have gone to the rally, but the demonstration to counter that. But we did go to the there was like a candlelight vigil that night with everything that went on. We went to that, and that was really touching to see the community come together. So
It's awesome.
hopefully they'll never have to do that again. Hopefully we'll find a way to prevent people from being hit by fucking cars. Because
Said it once, I'll say it again. Fire!
Yeah.
Fire! Yeah.
So how about you, Mark? Real quick, what do you have from outside your comfort zone? On
Outside
your
my
adventures?
comfort zone? Well, I'm actually working on an EP right now myself.
You're just using new music for
I-
each thing.
I have
that's
a
at home.
boring
You're-
life, man.
yeah.
If I'm not working, I'm up in the studio doing music, you know.
So you have a
But,
new EP.
yeah, I'm working with the very talented Jen Colton. She's
Okay,
singing
yeah.
with me. She sang with Ted Hovis in the band
Love Jen.
back when I played with Ted, and she's working on my tunes and having fellow musicians come in and help me record all the tunes. And
What kind of instruments do you have going on in there? Is it pretty standard, or do you have some
Well-
things off the wall a little?
nothing unusual. I've started playing lap steel.
What?
So
That's pretty unusual.
We're putting a little lap steel on there.
You're like, nothing weird. I'm just gonna play an orangutan.
I was going to say, like, a penguin.
a little lap steel, a little pitch correction.
Yeah,
you know.
a little pitch. Yeah. I missed that one by a little bit. Just pitch that.
Yeah.
Little pitchy.
But just trying to do like more of a roots rock, something different
That's fun.
than what I did with Ted Hovis.
Yeah.
And definitely influenced by my current band with Scott Kurt, and
that's modern country.
modern
right?
country. Yeah,
So, it's
so
a little
it's
bit of that.
songs
little bit
about
roots.
pickup trucks, beer, and whiskey. Pretty
Oh,
much.
you need Mama and prison.
Exactly.
Pick
that
up-
would be outlaw country.
There you go. There you
Pickup
go.
trucks full of whiskey. That's the way you
Exactly.
do it.
Exactly.
And then everyone's like, yeah, I'm on board with that. That'd be great. Is it a monster truck? That's the only way you make it better. Oh my God, we're out of time. Gentlemen, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming by
Thanks for
today.
having
We
us.
really appreciate it. A lot of great music this week. There's local music. Go support it. Box Era at Whitestone Creative, Outcrap in College Park, and Yellow Tiger at O'Sullivan's Irish Pub in Arlington, Virginia on Friday, September 8th. On Saturday, September 9th, Arc of the Sun at the Sidebar in Baltimore, Maryland. Yellow Tie Guy at Lighthouse Dock Bar in Solomons, Maryland. Please like our posts, follow us, retweet us, and share the show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We cannot do this without you. Don't forget to review us on Facebook, iTunes, and Google Play. Thanks to Kevin Evinger for the theme song, for McNally Sally 22 for our logo, Justin Rogers for our photography, Big Metal Records, Alchemical Records, and Engineer Adam for making all the audio work and all of their contributions. Thanks to Victor, most of all, thanks for the Brewfest for coming out and wasting a perfectly good hour with us. This has been another wasted hour, and if you just realized that, don't blame us. We warned you.